Hey guys, Jeff here from Pure Tesla. Today, the Model 3 is disgusting. We've had a ton of winter weather. There is salt all over the vehicle. And so we can't do our traditional hand wash in the garage using ONR. We got to take this a little bit further. I don't like to go through the automatic car washes, add swirl marks, all that kind of stuff. But when the car is this dirty and there's this much salt caked in all these different areas, I do like to take it to one of those self-service pressure washes and at least get the first layer of stuff off so that we can then come back and do an ONR wash. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you my process when the car gets this dirty, full of winter weather grime, how I get off the first part of the salt and debris and all that kind of stuff, and then come back and do a hand wash. We're going to take you through that process step by step today. Stay tuned. When using the self-serve pressure washer, there's really two modes that I use. The first one is that pre-soap rinse, and what that does is it's a highly concentrated soap combination that is a very light spray, gives me the opportunity to get in all the nooks and crannies and all that kind of stuff before using a high pressure rinse. All I'm really trying to do during this part of the process is get all the excess dirt and grime off of the car, because I still will do the ONR hand wash when I get home. So I try to, avoid the excess chemicals. I don't need the, 8-color foam wash or all that kind of stuff. I really am just trying to get the excess grit off of the car. That is easily accomplished using those two cycles, the pre-soap rinse, which is low pressure, and then the high pressure water rinse. When you're actually washing the car, it's best to start at the top and use the pressure wash to wash down. That way all of the extra dirt and grime and grit and all that kind of stuff is working its way down the car. If you're just, kind of going all willy-nilly, you're going to be working against yourself, as some of the dirt and all that stuff will be moving up the car. You really want to start at the top and work your way down, and that way all of the dirt will just be pushing itself down to the bottom. My car is both front wrapped with XPEL Ultimate and then also has a ceramic coat on it. So the water does tend to come off quite easily, but at that point, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to use the additional chemicals and all that kind of stuff, is because it's designed to not need that additional washing power. Lastly, if you have the ability to find a self-service pressure wash station that has air dryers available, that's the best way to dry your car. Granted, we are going to go home and do a hand wash, which I will be drying it again, but at the same time, to get that excess water off, air drying is the best way to do it. The least opportunity that you have to be able to add any kind of resistance to your car, whether it's through even a microfiber towel, that high pressure air dry is going to be your best bet when it comes to drying off your vehicle. Okay, we're back from the car wash where we had the high pressure self-wash session to get all of the salt and extra dirt and grime off of, all the creases and all that kind of stuff. Now we're back home in the garage. Sorry that it's dirty. It's impossible to keep a garage clean in the Chicago winter. We have our 2-bucket method. One is going to be with our ONR, Optimum No Rinse, and the other one will be just our clean water bucket that we can keep our sponge in and rinse it out in between each section that we're going to do on the car. The nice thing about ONR is that it's a polymer, so it has the ability to encapsulate the dirt and anything that's left on the car, so that using this sponge makes it come right off. And then when we go to dry, there's no residual debris. And if there is anything that's left on there, it will not damage the car because it's coated in this polymer. I swear by this stuff, it is phenomenal. There'll be links to all this stuff down in the description so you can easily get to it. So all you need is 1 ounce of ONR for 2 gallons of water. And conveniently, a cap size is 1 ounce. So we'll go ahead and fill up this down here. We'll go ahead and fill up 1 cap size, pour it in, close this up, put it off to the side, and then we'll soak our sponge, and then we'll use the sponge as a means to stir all that around. Let it soak for just a minute, and then we'll get started. So we're going to start at the top of the car and work our way down, just like we did with the high pressure wash at the self-service station. Something that's really important when we're using ONR is we don't need a ton of water. The whole idea behind this is you can wash your car with a couple gallons of water. So when you use the sponge or a microfiber mitt or whatever you may have, there shouldn't be a ton of residual water dripping out. It's too much. Just give it a couple of squeezes here. You just want it to be wet enough that when you apply pressure to it, water comes out, but you don't want it dripping excess water out when you're just holding it. It's unnecessary. The ONR is designed to be able to use with a minimal amount of water. Perfect. So we're going to wash the car 1 panel at a time. I like to do the top glass first because it's the most forgiving. You can easily do all the glass all at once. And just nice even streaks. When you get about halfway through, you can switch to the other side of the sponge. But again, it doesn't matter as much on the glass because the glass is not going to scratch like your paint will. So if the sponge has some excess residual dirt on it, not as big of a deal. You just want to be able to get that off of the glass. Once you sponge off the top glass part, I then immediately dry the glass so that that part of your wash is completely done. You can use your microfiber towels. Just give it a nice, quick dry here. Again, you're not super worried about swirl marks or anything on your glass because glass is significantly harder than your paint. So you just want to get all the water off. Flip the towel inside out a couple of times. I usually like to quarter it, and you'll see that process when we do the actual panels here. Because it's much easier to keep track of what you've done at that point. So the idea behind doing a hand wash with ONR is that you go a panel at a time. And the idea there is it gives you an opportunity to go back and forth. Once you've done about half of the panel you're working on, you flip the sponge over and you finish the rest of the panel. When you're applying the sponge, it's no more pressure than what the sponge is putting on the car. You don't need to push. You just lightly glide the sponge across the surface and then put it back into your clean water. When you do that, you can then head right over to your microfiber drying towel. I quarter mine, so we can do a quarter just like this. And then the same thing, nice and soft, back and forth. Once you've done 1/4 of it, then I switch it around to the other side. This. Then another quarter, flip it inside out. 1, 2, 3, and then last quarter. 1, 2, 3. Perfect, and you have a perfectly clean front section. You do that across each of the different panels, one at a time, and that will make for a perfectly clean car without any dry spots because you're drying as you go. Again, in between each panel, you're rinsing out your sponge, doing a full rinse. And then putting it into your O&R solution and squeezing out the sponge so that there's no residual water that's dripping out. Go across your quarter panel here, or the next panel, not necessarily your quarter panel. And I use the natural lines of the car as my brake points. Put it back into your water. And then I get a new dry towel. I have enough so that I can do each I can do each panel with a different towel. I fold it after a couple passes, fold it again. And then repeat. So like I said, in between each section of the car, you're putting it into your clean water and rinsing it out a little bit. Putting it then back into your O&R water and squeezing the sponge just enough that it doesn't drip once you pick it up out of the water. So on these panels, you just move back and forth. 1, 2, 3. You flip over the sponge. 1, 2, 3. Back into the clean water and grab another rag. Your quartered drying towel. 1, 2, 3. Flip it over. 1, 2, 3. And then one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So you're just doing this one section at a time, all the way around the car. I tend to do this whole back section all at once. I feel like it's small enough that you can get away with it. It only takes a couple of passes in order to be able to get most of this stuff. You do the top section and then flip over the sponge. Get the bottom section. And then put it back into your rinse water. And then get a new towel and immediately do the same process with a quarter. 1. The whole idea is that you should not have to work hard with this kind of a wash. It's something that goes on super easy and comes off super easy without any rinse necessary. And go to the next panel. When doing the door sills, I use the same O&R and sponge. Just get on the insides, do one swipe, get everything you need, and then immediately follow up with a dry towel. The nice thing in the versatility about O&R is that it can be used on the interior of a car as well. I'll show you in a different video how to do that. So just like that, with about 15 minutes of effort with O&R, you can do a full hand wash after going to the self-service station and power washing off all that salt and grime. You can be doing it in the dead of winter, just like I am here in Chicago. And it really does make a big difference with the way in which your car looks. You notice that if you just go through and spray it with the hand wash and then leave it, a lot of those salt deposits remain, and that's where the O&R is really beneficial in making sure that you have a truly clean car. Now, granted, next time I go and drive this, it's going to be totally destroyed again, but at the same time, I think it's super important to keep up with those weekly washes to make sure that you're getting that salt buildup off, because salt and cars do not mix. So, thanks for watching. If you have any other tips on how to wash your car, certainly leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Mila, stop here. very wet. Mila. Mila.